Imagine you're walking through the Italian city of Pisa, and all of a sudden, you see a huge tower in front of you. From a distance, it looks normal, but as you get closer, you realize it's leaning in a bizarre way. What's even stranger is that it's been standing like this for hundreds of years. It hasn't fallen or straightened up. When people get there, they forget everything else and just stand there taking pictures as if they're holding it up. But no one ever asks, what's the real story behind this lean? Why hasn't the tower fallen yet? And what makes millions of people visit it every year as if it's a miracle? The story of the Leaning Tower of Pisa isn't just about a crooked building. It's a tale full of weird facts, engineering blunders, and scientific experiments that changed the history of physics. It's a tower that almost got destroyed in a world war, but came out of it as if it had a long and lucky life. Get ready, because what's coming next isn't just history. It's an exciting journey into the story of the most famous leaning tower in the world, the Leaning Tower of Pisa. Just a heads up, before we start, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you get all our new videos as soon as they drop. Most viewers watch our videos without hitting the like button. Please support us by liking and sharing this video. In the 12th century, the Italian city of Pisa was at the height of its power. It was a wealthy city, full of trade, and its ships were sailing all over the Mediterranean. People at that time wanted to leave an architectural mark that would make their city's name famous forever. The project was huge. No one could have imagined that years later it would become a world landmark visited by millions of people. The engineers designed the tower in the Romanesque style. They chose white marble to give it a spectacular look that would catch the eye. The plan was for it to have 8 floors, rising together in a balanced and impressive shape. In the year 1173, construction began. The stones were stacked one on top of the other, and the workers put in all their effort. In the beginning, it stood straight like any other building, and everything was going great. 5 years passed, and the tower reached a height of 3 floors. But suddenly, the tower started to lean in one direction. It was a slight lean at first, but it was clear to everyone. The whole city was in shock. How could a building this big lose its balance from the very beginning? The engineers were stumped. The reason was the soil. The ground the tower was built on was soft, almost like a sponge. Couldn't handle the weight of thousands of tons of stone. The problem became serious. If they kept building, the tower could collapse completely. And if they stopped, it would look like a failed project. The decision was difficult, but they decided to stop building. Not for a day or a month, but for a full 100 years. The tower was left unfinished and leaning in a very obvious way. For an entire century, the tower stood in the middle of the square, a monument to a suspended project. People saw it as a sign of a huge engineering mistake. But the truth is, this was just the beginning of a much stranger and more amazing story. After the tower had been left for 100 years with only half of it built, a new generation of builders came along. So they decided to finish the project, hoping to find a solution to make the building straight. In the year 1272, the workers returned. The idea that came to the engineers' minds at the time was a little strange. They said, well, let's finish the floors, but make their weight in the opposite direction of the lean. Meaning, instead of the tower leaning to the right, we'll add weight to the left to balance it. And that's what they did. 4 new floors were added on top of the 3 that were already built. But instead of straightening it, the lean got even worse. At that time, people saw every attempt to fix it just making the problem bigger. But still, no one gave up. They said, let's finish the last floor and close it off. Maybe that will save the situation. In the year 1372, the 8th floor was built. The tower reached a height of about 56 meters and a lean of about 5 degrees. Everyone in the city was sure that its collapse was only a matter of time. But the strange thing was that the tower didn't fall. It remained stable, as if defying the laws of nature. People started to treat it like a mystery. How could a building that weighs thousands of tons, with such an obvious lean, stay standing without collapsing? And as the years passed, this mystery became the secret to the tower's fame. Centuries went by, and the Leaning Tower of Pisa was still standing. People considered it a challenge to nature, but the Italian government saw it as a real danger. It could collapse at any moment, and a major historical landmark would be lost. In the 20th century, Italy's ruler Benito Mussolini came along. Mussolini saw a tower leaning like that as an architectural disgrace. He decided it had to be fixed and turned into a straight building just like any other tower. He ordered huge amounts of cement to be poured under the foundations. The idea was that the cement would strengthen the soil and fix the building's position. But what happened was a new disaster. The cement added more weight to the soil. The result? The tower sank further into the ground, and its lean got worse instead of getting straight. This experiment taught the Italians that a haphazard approach wouldn't work, and that any mistake could write the end of the tower forever. Years passed until the Italian government decided to take a serious step. In 1964, they announced to the world that they needed experts from everywhere to help save the tower. Hundreds of engineers and scientists shared ideas and solutions, but they all agreed on one thing: the tower can't be made straight again. The only solution is to keep it leaning but make it stable. After years of discussion, they decided to close the tower in 1990. Visitors were banned from entering, and workers started to work around the foundations. How? They brought huge blocks of lead and put them on the opposite side of the lean to create a balance. They also removed some of the soil from under the higher side of the tower. The operation was extremely precise. Any mistake could cause the entire tower to fall. These adjustments continued for many years, and finally, in 2001, they announced that the tower was stable and safe to visit. The news spread all over the world. The strange thing is that all attempts to make it straight failed. But that very failure was the secret to its success. Because if it had been straightened, it wouldn't have been the Leaning Tower of Pisa. And it wouldn't be attracting millions of tourists like it does now. The Leaning Tower of Pisa wasn't just a leaning building. It was also the stage for a scientific experiment that changed the world's view of physics. In the 16th century, a famous scientist named Galileo Galilei lived in Italy. This scientist was naturally curious and didn't like to accept any idea without testing it himself. At that time, scientists were convinced of something strange. They said, if we drop two objects from a high altitude, one heavy and one light, the heavy object will definitely reach the ground before the light one. But Galileo disagreed. He said, that's wrong, both objects will land at the exact same moment, regardless of their weight. People were shocked. What do you mean a 10-kilogram piece of iron would fall at the same speed as a 1-kilogram piece? Galileo decided to prove his point. He chose the Leaning Tower of Pisa to be the stage for his experiment. The tower was tall, and everyone was gathered around it. It was the perfect place. On a specific day, he invited scientists, thinkers, and regular people to see for themselves. He stood in front of them with two metal pieces, one heavy and one light. Galileo went up to the top of the tower, and with a single movement, he dropped both pieces at the same time. All eyes were focused on the objects as they fell quickly, and at the moment of impact, the two pieces touched the ground at the exact same time. People were amazed. The idea they had been convinced of for centuries was shattered right in front of their eyes. This experiment proved that the fall of objects is not related to their weight, but to gravity. And from there, a new door opened in the world of physics. The Leaning Tower of Pisa didn't just stop at being an architectural marvel or a stage for experiments. It was also a witness to the events of the Second World War. During World War II, Italy was a battlefield. German forces used the Leaning Tower of Pisa as an observation post. Its height and lean gave it a strategic advantage. When the Allies got close to the city, they received a clear order: destroy every position the enemy could use. And that meant the Leaning Tower was in serious danger. An American soldier reached the tower to identify the target. But when he saw the building in front of him, he hesitated. The tower's beauty was stronger than the orders of war. The decision was made. The tower would be left standing. Maybe this was the most decisive moment that determined its fate. Today, the Leaning Tower of Pisa has become one of the most famous tourist attractions in the world. Millions of people visit it every year. Each one of them has to take a picture of themselves holding it up. It went from an engineering mistake to a source of pride for the Italians. Share your thoughts with us in the comments. What did you like most about today's topic? And if you have any strange topics or historical secrets you want us to talk about, write them in the comments. And don't forget to support us with a like and share the video. We'll see you in the next video.